Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAISCC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series for the finale of the round of 16. For 8 drivers, they get to move on, for their championship hopes are still alive. For 8 drivers tonight, though, their road ends. We'll figure it all out here at Daytona. The season started here while we were at the oval course. Well, it's time for us to now go road course racing. It's the cutoff race of the round of 16. We are all excited to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. And Zach, road course racing, we're looking to be seeing a lot of drivers that are in some very dire situations after last week's race at Bristol.
Yeah, tonight is going to be a tough spot for a few of these drivers who probably are not the fondest of road course racing at the first point. But tonight, their playoff chances are on the line. Like you were saying there, Sam, we're going to cut it down to 8. A few of those guys I'm looking back at, especially down the board in the timesheets, one of those big names is Tyler Dingler. He's on the outside looking in to get into that top 8. And if he's going to try to get into that top 8 here and make up those 10 points that he's back, he's going to need a lot more speed than he's showing right now in this practice session. But at the same time, this race can come down to attrition. If you make it to the end, you never know. You could be 15th on pace-wise, but you could be looking for a top 10 with drivers getting wrecked out.
Yeah, coming into tonight, we do have 2 drivers officially already locked in, that being Mark Whitley, that won back at Bristol. I said last week, I meant 2 weeks ago, as we had our Christmas and New Year's break for these drivers. Mark Whitley, as well as Vincent Sora, both are already locked in. Mark Whitley with his win at Bristol, Vincent Sora off of points, and then there are going to be that of just a few more spots to be given out. But Danny Cochran, Brandon Colley, both those drivers in a spot where if they just start, they race, run a lap or 2, and kind of do a start and park if they really wanted to, they could be moving on, and they will be moving on to the round of 8. Then you've got Ethan Smith, John Forbes, going to be the 2 drivers, 5th and 6th, but then their final 2 spots, where it gets very interesting and close, you've got Sean Hutstutler and James Loveland. Both are going to be your bubble drivers coming into tonight, with only that of Loveland with a 9-point advantage, and Hutstutler with a 5-point advantage over that of Max Foner, who we see on screen. Max Foner's got a lot of speed, so we'll watch out where the drivers are. There's going to be a lot of other drivers we're going to give note on, as again, we go from 16 drivers in our playoffs down to just 8. And we go down to that of being our pit road reporter of the night, Brian Johnson. Brian, this is going to be an interesting night. The drivers had 2 weeks to practice. This track is going to be a fun one to watch, but what were you kind of a sense you were feeling from the drivers coming into tonight?
Well, they are definitely glad that they had those 2 weeks to practice because this track is very difficult. It demands a lot out of the driver, a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. And really, it's just tonight for them, it's going to be about battling the track more than the guy ahead or behind them. You know, you have to beat the track before you beat the guy in front of you. And that's what these guys are going to have to do and going to have to remember at the beginning of the race, in the middle, and especially at the end. You know, the easiest way to get knocked out of this race is to make a mistake by yourself. It usually doesn't come from contact, you know, a little off track here, off track there, and before you know it, you're, you know, in the tire barrier somewhere. So these guys just going to have to remember to mind themselves a little bit and just, you know, be as perfect as they can. You know, nobody's going to be perfect tonight. Everybody tonight is going to make some sort of mistake or multiple mistakes. So it's just about minimizing those, not compounding them, and you know, just do the best you can do and hope for a good finish out of it.
These drivers have a lot to worry about, a lot of corners to worry about. We're going from the Daytona Oval, which is a 2.5-mile course, to now 3.5 miles, a little bit more than 3.5 miles is this road course. So we're now going to be throwing it trackside for a quick moment. Brian Johnson, taming the turns. We're going to be right back in a few after Brian gives us a little bit more details on how to tackle this course.
Alright guys, no intro this week. We have a lot of track to cover, so we're just going to get right into the lap. We're headed towards turn 1 here. We're going to brake right at about the light post right there. Got to be careful. High speed going across different sections of the track. Right now we're on the oval part, getting down to the apron. Now we're in the, you know, the actual road course part. We're going to try to keep it right against those tires right there on the inside. Get back into the gas, but being very careful. The rear end of this truck, very unstable. So got to be easy with the right foot through these S's right here. Going to want to try to keep a straight line as possible. Don't hit those curbs too much. That'll upset the truck. headed into turn 3. We're going to get right to the left, and we're going to try to brake in a straight line. Got a little bit of wheel hop right there, so got to be careful with that. And we're going to keep it nice and tight on the inside, getting back into the gas. But again, very, very careful. This corner, easy to overdo it. Had to do a little bit of counter steer right there, so pretty loose on exit. Now we're headed towards the kink, and this truck doesn't really like the kink all that much, so every single lap probably going to have to back it up more and more and more. Right here, I pushed it a little bit, tried to get too much, and swung way out to the right. Didn't really want to do that. Want to try to keep that more towards the center, and that little black strip going across the track, that's our braking point right there. Again, braking in a straight line. We're going into the keyhole, and again, just going to try to keep it nice and tight on those curves. I didn't have quite the best line right here. Getting back into the gas, and again, we're not flat-footing. The throttle pedal is not a switch, so being very careful with the right foot. Right here, we're going to brake just as we need to shift into third gear. Right now, we're in second, and we'll go down into first. This corner right here, very important. Again, right on the curb. And you can see right here, I got way, way loose. Again, just trying to get too much out of it. But this corner, the exit, very important because all the speed you carry out of this corner is going to go on this long, long straight. Now, since I have a little time until our next corner, I'll talk a little bit about what these drivers are going to have to do. Now, usually we talk about, the drivers that don't make any mistakes or the least amount of mistakes is going to have a lot of success in these races. Well, tonight, every single driver is going to make a lot of mistakes. It's just a matter of how big they are and whether you compound a mistake. If you mess up a corner, don't go into the next corner trying to get that time you lost. You'll just compound that mistake, make another one, a bigger one, and it's not going to be any good. So going into the bus stop right here, going to brake somewhere in between the 3 and the 2. We're in fourth gear, going to bring her down all the way to second. Again, just managing the wheel hop. And we're going to keep it nice and tight on these entry curbs. Now on these exit curbs, you got to be a little careful. They have these little yellow, I guess we'll call them turtles, and you don't want to hit those. You hit those, your race is done. That's it. You can forget about finishing, or at least having a good finish. You hit those and it's over. So very important to stay off of those. Now we're in oval 3 and 4. Going to make sure our upshifts are of good quality. You can sacrifice 1-2 mile an hour on a bad shift, so don't want to do that. Now we're going to keep it down near the double yellow line, but we got this extra chicane up here, so we're going to drift up towards the wall, and I usually start braking just after the D in Daytona right there. Down in a third, down in a second, and then I shift down into first right here. I'm keeping it far to the left just so I can have maybe a little bit of a straighter entry to the right-hander. I did hit that little yellow curb right there, not too big of a deal. But again, just, these corners that lead onto the long straights, it's good to have exit speed. Entry speed, not so important, but exit speed, super important because all that momentum carries out into the straightaway. So that's a lap at the Daytona Roval, and I've got a full speed lap coming up to you here shortly, so you can watch that.
Well, hopefully you got those corners and the notes written down because we are now heading into qualifying. Thank you to Brian Johnson for giving us tame the turns. And now Zach, qualifying's underway. The pressure on to get a great start. These drivers have 5 minutes to put down 2 laps, which they have just enough time to do so, but this is going to be very close if any of these drivers make a mistake.
Yeah, they're going to be able to put 2 laps in, not 2 time laps though. They're going to get this out lap here with the amount of time, and then they'll have 1 chance at a flying lap unless they, can get reset in time here on that out lap that where they make a mistake. But this is going to be interesting. They're definitely racing the clock here, but you cannot let that speed you up too much and make a mistake here, because I can tell you what, there's going to be no yellows. So the race is going to stay green. So qualifying here is going to be possibly one of the most critical phases of this race to get yourself out front if you have that pace, to be able to pull away from the back, because you don't want to be coming from behind. It's a tough position to be in here trying to catch up with Daytona.
There's going to be some drivers that right now, they're just thinking about having a consistent run. I was talking to Ethan Smith and as well to Max Boner and a couple of other drivers. A lot in their mind was feeling that pressure, not wanting to make any mistakes coming into the night's race. Because you're right on board with Max Boner still, and get a sense from this 51 team. Got to say for Max though, he's coming in at the first car outside, looking in 9th in points. He's going to be coming in, 9th in points, 5 points out from Sean Hutzstutler. That of 9 points out from James Loveland, 17 points out from John Forbes, and 20 points out from that of Ethan Smith. And those are the drivers that possibly we could be seeing being bumped in or out coming into this race. I mean, when we go green on this first lap, we potentially could be seeing 4 drivers already locked in. We already know 2 drivers, Mark Whitley, Vincent Soar, they're locked in. Whitley with a win at Bristol for our first race, and then also Vincent Soar based off of points. Danny Cochran, Brandon Johnson, both those drivers could get locked in just by starting the race, because there's not enough drivers that have logged in to race here tonight, given a giant opportunity for for those drivers that are already in the top 8 to feel comfortable coming into today's race.
Yeah, definitely having the lower number count for sure is giving them a little bit of sigh of relief to know that a major mistake won't be too much of a points loss. So they definitely have got to feel better about that. Sam, as we're watching Max Foner on his qualifying lap, I think he's going to be the driver we watch tonight. He's right under that cut line, like you said, 5 points out, and from practice looks very, very strong. We've also heard, we've seen Max before perform very well on these road courses. Looking back at Lime Rock, he started from pit road there and drove himself all the way up into the top 10. So, man, I would like to see what he's going to do tonight. If he can get himself a stage point or a few of them, that'll really help his case also. But, man, he's looking really, really strong. We'll see what he can do here in qualifying as he's coming through oval 1 and 2.
Through the ovals of 1 and 2, and really a lot of speed for this 51 team. Yeah, this track so unique, using about 80% of the actual oval course, and then they also are having the inner course where they go in and out in the first half of this race, and then here going through where the drivers are hitting the bus stop currently for that of Max Foner. This is basically the back stretch heading into the oval of NASCAR turns 3, which would be actually technically turn 11 for the 51 team, and you're seeing him ducking as low as he can, building up the speed coming into NASCAR chicane.
Yeah, got to come down here to the NASCAR chicane, like you pointed out there, Sam. He's going to go high up against the wall, get the straightest braking zone possible, and the key here is do not touch these turtle shells. They will shoot you up the racetrack. He grabs it just a little bit. That was just enough, though, to get that truck turned. He's going to come to the line as we are going to time for Mark Whitley. A 155.46 for him is now we'll look to see what Foner puts down. 157 for Ethan Smith, a 156.85 for Max Foner, a little bit slower than his practice lap.
A little bit slower, but hey, that's still a very decent time that Max Foner can take for him. Hoping that this is actually going to keep him in the top 10, if not top 5, is for the 51 team, as we're now seeing the other speeds kick in. Vincent Sora with a burner of a lap, a 155.096 lap time for the 15, almost cracking the 154s.
Yeah, that was a great lap time. Coming in here tonight, I think Vincent is the favorite. He is definitely, I think, on the minds of a lot of us thinking, he's got the speed. Is he going to be able to have the mental fortitude to be able to hold back the pack and not make the mistakes here? Because this Daytona road course, very slippery and technical, and a high-speed track at that, too. So it has all different types of corners. We'll see what he can pull off tonight. But I tell you what, great lap by him, but also got to shout out Danny Cochran there. 55.7 in practice. He picks it up to a 55.25 there in qualifying to put himself with his teammate on the front row.
Absolutely incredible times. Qualifying is over, and it is time for us to take a look at our Hot Lap Designs qualifying results. If you're trying to get yourself any type of designs, Hot Lap Designs can do it. From anything from dirt cars to that of road cars, as well as suits and that of helmets on iRacing. Hot Lap Designs, go check them out, as well as all of our other amazing sponsors. We'll talk about them throughout the night. But here is your starting results. Vincent Sora with the fastest lap time from the 15, going to be top of the board, with that of Danny Cochran going to be to his outside. In that third position in row 2, it's going to be Mark Whitley and Brandon Colley going to be in 4th place. Trevor Earhart in a must-win scenario if he wants to move on to the round of 8, going to be in 5th position. In 6th, it's John Forbes looking for a consistent finish for himself. Max Boner, who could potentially sneak his way in the top 8, hoping to have a great run in 7th. Ethan Smith, who is inside, just needing a good run. Top 15 finish for himself. Could be moving on to our round of 8. Sean Hutstetler in 9th, and finishing out our top 10 is that of Thomas Walter.
And the 11th position, Gregory Shaw on the outside, looking in to get into that top 8. He is in 9th in points. He's going to be looking to get himself up there from that 10th position. But 12th is going to be Tyler Dingler. 13th is going to go to Ryan Ferraro in the 12 machine. 14th is going to be Martin Morales. 15th, Dakota Moniz. 16th is going to go to Jonathan Smith. 17th place is going to be the 25 of Cody Reed. 18th is going to be James Loveland. He is, the second car above that cut line. He's going to be looking to move up the grid from that 18th starting position. 19th is going to be Christopher Norris in a must-win position for him almost. 20th is Joshua Freed. And rounding out that field here tonight is Cody Dorsey in the 21st position.
We do have some unfortunate news. Aaron Kralik not going to be able to race here tonight. Issues between himself and also that of Jordan Smith back at Bristol. Deemed that from the admins that the 01 was going to be parked and not able to race, so his championship hopes are now snuffed out. We got 15 drivers trying to race in to be in the top 8, and they are rolling now. Speaking of more amazing sponsors that we have here from the NAISCC crew, we already know that they're the title sponsor, but that a race car graveyard, if you're looking to get yourself into the diecast schemes, go look them up and also when you find that of Race Car Graveyard on Instagram, use their promo code RCGY and you can get yourself a discount code, getting anything from 1/24th ratios to 1/64th ratio diecast. Look them up at Race Car Graveyard, as well as Track Racer, Refined Gaming. If you're trying to get yourself into racing rigs or finish your racing rig, they are the best ones to go out for. Track Racer, Refined Gaming. As the drivers are getting ready to go green here, it is time to figure out who's moving on to the round of 8. As the drivers going through the NASCAR chicane, pace truck pulls off. It is time for that of the chaotic K-9 125 as we are green here, folks. It is all race time. Who's moving on to the next round? Who's still going to have championship hopes? As Vincent Sora, dad of Danny Cochran, side-by-side teammates as they head down into turn number 1.
Down to turn 1, it could get a little chaotic here as Mark Whitley to 77. He's going to go up the inside of Danny Cochran. That outside line, not a lot of grip as you'll see that line go backwards. Cochran's going to slot into 3rd as Collie going to slot into 4th there in that 1 machine.
The big question of who's going to be slipping up here early. Certainly everyone's surviving as we go into the International Horseshoe, as drivers still side by side from that of 5th on back, still staying straight and not expecting to see a full course to yellow at all during this race. So you need to gain every position now before you lose any positions and everyone starts to gap out, as single file formations now starting to kick in. The middle of the field is where we're seeing a lot of drivers that need to have good runs where they are currently, as we're seeing that of Sean Hutstetler and others still wadded up, and they got to be careful.
Yeah, almost some contact down there into the keyhole of turn 5, heading down here to turn number 6. One of the toughest braking zones at this track. It's very, very bumpy in this truck and hard to put the power down. Now coming back onto the oval. As you see there, it was one of the limitless trucks taking a look at this 19 of Tyler Dingler there on that turn 6, but Dingler's going to get the run off the corner. Already seen a few little couple moments from our guys, but it's starting to spread out now as we head onto the oval.
Drivers, we knew that we're going to be in some must-win scenarios, struggling here just in the first lap. Christopher Norris, as well as James Loveland, both needing to have good runs. Cody Reed, I think one of the drivers we're expecting to have at least a decent run in the top 10, back in 15th, as we're still right on board with Tyler Dangler. Dangler was a driver, I think a lot of the drivers in their minds, because of how well the 19 performed at Lime Rock Park, they thought we were going to see a very similar thing here from the 19, but Tyler Dangler, if he's going to be moving on through the next round, he's got to perform and finish in the top 3, if not top 5, and also hope a little bit of the drivers ahead of him in points have some struggle days as well.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need to perform here tonight, Sam, if he wants to go forward. As you can see right there, Cody Reed making the pass on the 25 machine onto Ryan Ferraro down there to the NASCAR chicane. And he's going to head down to the start-finish line to make up a few spots. Cody Reed showed a lot of speed in practice, did not get a qualifying time, and I wonder if he had some type of off-track incident that happened later in the lap and just did not have enough time to get back around to attempt another one. So a tough position for him, as at 25, he showed a lot of speed.
He really did. Going to be back currently in 15th, but his race is not over. Again, these drivers still have the stage break, but no yellow will be thrown for that. As we were talking about, drivers that need to have good runs. Max Voner now dropping down to 12th place, now down to 13th. The 51 slipping up. He was up in 7th, now down to 14th.
Yeah, simple mistake down to the International Horseshoe, just getting on the power a little bit too quick on the apex, along with Trevor Earhart in front of him, who did save it. But the 51, he goes around and has a half spin there, but has to get the truck back going. Luckily for him, not too much of a time loss, but definitely at least 5 to 6 seconds there lost for that 51 in the overall scheme of this race.
And now going to have to recoup, refine that speed. Oh no, there's the 66 going around. Gregory Shaw, issues for himself. And other drivers continuing to pile in, and luckily, well, Gregory Shaw was the only one, but there was a lot of scary moments there. We thought some other drivers could have hit the 66, but that's another driver, Gregory Shaw, who came in 10th in points, needed a solid day, struggles for himself. These bubble drivers, they cannot have these mistakes this early on.
Yeah, I think turn 6 is going to be the corner we got to watch all night long. It's so tight and twisty there as you turn into that left-hander to get back onto the oval. And it's just, the road there is just not meant to be a racing surface. It's the apron of a racetrack, and it just is not very smooth. It's very, very bumpy. So you see that from Shaw there getting into the corner. He will hops on entry and loses the rear right into the tire barrier. Luckily, he got it back going, and the tire barriers here are actually pretty forgiving at Daytona. So luckily, not too much damage, but a major loss of time as we jump back up here looking at Trevor Earhart. Remember, he's a very fine road course racer at the Underdog Racing League here tonight, looking to pull himself up into the top 5, possibly here behind John Forbes.
Yeah, and Trevor Earhart, he is one of the few drivers that's in a must-win scenario if he wants to go into the next round. And I was talking with him, trying to get his sense, because like you know, Don, he is a good road course racer, and he's performing right now, trying to pressure John Forbes. But what we were hearing, I mean, we've seen Earhart perform well in the Underdog Racing League Wednesday nights, and he said, you know, I love racing the road courses there, but there is a difference level between racing guys like Jason Finsler and compared to Vincent Sora and Mark Whitley. Vincent Sora and Mark Whitley just seem to be much more consistent overall and be able to save their tires, so it allows the 99 to really perform well on Wednesday nights. But here on Mondays, he's got to have one of the most spectacular comeback races, currently 8 seconds back from our leaders. There's a lot of ground that he's got to make up, but luckily there's still a lot of racing here tonight. Only, 35 laps that we're running. Stage break going to be on lap 15 for these drivers, so there's still a lot of time here. But Zach, it's going to take forever with this over 3.5-mile course. It's a marathon just for 35 laps.
Oh, it is definitely a marathon, Sam. Here's you see Trevor Earhart taking a look down to the bus stop, just taking a look here. Maybe make Forbes overshoot his marks and make a mistake here that'll give him a chance going down to the NASCAR chicane here. But yeah, again, this track's so long here, 3.5 miles long. A lap here around just under 2 minutes. It's a eternity here. And I tell you what, we're only coming by here a complete lap 3. Like you said, our top 4. They've almost got 8 seconds back to John Forbes back here in the 11 with this battle happening for the 5th position. The top 4, they are Vincent Sora, Mark Whitley, Danny Cocker, and Brandon Colley. Those were the 4 coming in tonight. I've heard a lot of stories about from the practice races, just overall practice sessions this week. We've heard Vincent Sora's been the favorite, but the one Brandon Colley was the quickest man in the race on the practice race a few days ago. But major mistake there from Danny Cocker, and that's what you're going to see. I think these guys are running a very fast pace right now compared to what I've seen from some of the practice races they did. This pace here may not keep up for them. They may be pushing it a little bit too hard here, and we may see tire wear start to come to fruition. Look at that. There's the 77. Rear tires lighting up there out of the International Horseshoe.
Well, there also was a lot of discussion, during practice I was hearing of drivers, picking and choosing, do I want to make this race a one-stop race or a two-stop race? And how easy do I want to be in the beginning? Do I want to just absolutely use up all of my tires in the first couple of laps and then come into pit road and be aggressive again? Or do I want to be patient all the way through? And it's starting to look like some of these drivers that are up front, the aggression level certainly is there as Danny Cochran's rear end is slipping and sliding, and he's trying to hold on, currently in 3rd.
Yeah, Danny Cochran here is starting to struggle a little bit. Brandon Colley, he's pulled within about a 10 truck length gap here, and that is a pretty close gap here actually on the ovals. You'll see it close down here as they get down to the hard braking zone here. And this is something I've seen from this one truck in the practice races throughout the week. Not the quickest on pace, raw pace in qualifying, but his consistency and overall tire wear is something that was very impressive, and I think that's what led him to his second place finish at Lime Rock. And we can't forget Mark Whitley. He was running second at Lime Rock, and he got caught up in an incident. So these are really our top 4 road course guys at the moment in this league, and they are really showing out as they've separated themselves from the field.
That they continue to do, as still it's Vincent Sora up front leading this way. And then you see, different factors these drivers got to watch out for. Zach, we saw it there, the sun. It is currently past noon, going into evening time, and that sun is going to be blinding for the next couple of laps for these drivers. It might have to be worried about if this race, I don't think the sun going down is going to be a factor of going into nighttime, but they got to be concerned of that sun getting very harsh as the run continues to go on.
Oh, it's only going to get worse. But I can say that sun does have a factor, especially down in the NASCAR chicane. Normally the other style road course where we don't have that chicane, you have a little bit more time as you pass that grandstand to get a little bit of vision heading down to one to block that sun out. But even here, down into the kink, you get blinded. I mean, this is the greatness of iRacing. I think shown here is, man, you got so many different factors that come into sim racing, not only how you drive the truck, but your vision too. So definitely a cool thing to watch there as we continue around the road course. And Brandon Colley, again, closing down that gap just a little bit on Danny Cochran. His last time by, he was about a 0.6 quicker than that 2 truck. So again, continue to close in, and look at the 2 blowing the corner there in 6.
Yeah, really struggling to find that real true apex, get out of the corner, but he's still able to get up to the wall and now trying to get a great run through the corners. Want to give an update from drivers further back. Ryan Ferraro, issues for the 12 on the entry of turn 1, got loose, wrecked it into the inside wall, had to take a tow to pit road. Currently still in pit road is the 12. So 20 drivers on track still, which means for the drivers that need a lot of points, such as that of Cody Reed, Norris, Walter, all those points decisions are going to slowly turn into must-win scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. The more spots that get taken back there, the less chance they have for someone in front of them to get taken out and put into a position like that. So, yeah, those points are closing down, and at some point, like you said, it will be a must-win scenario. Where you're out on the racetrack, it's almost impossible at that point. So it's going to be a tough spot for these drivers to be in. But Vincent Sora, though, I tell you what, he made a mistake up front. And he's got a friend in Mark Whitley there. I don't know about how much of a friend he is, but he is there and definitely breathing down the neck of this 15 and making him think about this. And this is the toughest spot you can be in as the leader. You want to pace yourself. But when you got a red 77 in the mirror like that, is going to make you want to push a little bit harder to get away from that turn.
Yeah, especially with the fact that both are already locked into the next round. We've noted on this rivalry, this brewing just a dogfight that these both drivers have had all season long, with one driver, taking a win after the bump trap, the other wrecking another driver for a win. It has been aggressive from the start of this season to now, and with both drivers already being locked in, Zach, that means that the gloves are completely off. They can do whatever they want, and they know they're going to be moving on to the next round.
Yeah, that's definitely right. The gloves are off, but do you want to make another little scenario between you two as you head down to the final couple races of these playoffs? And in the round of 8, all it takes is one bad race and you won't be moving on. And I think consistency again is going to be the key. So making friends of your competition will be key to make it to that final race, but you can't be too friendly here as you're racing. And I think behind for that 3rd position, it's getting a little racy. Brandon Colley run on the 2 here into turn oval 1 and 2.
It is extremely close, practically bump drafting, and we're coming into the bus stop where drivers got to be figuring out where they want to place themselves. Right now, Colley's going to go to the inside, trying to place himself into this first corner, but it's going to be coming out of the corner. The 2 goes off into the grass just slightly, and right now, a great recovery from that of Danny Cochran, but Colley, wishes he made that pass sooner.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely would think Danny Cochran's got to slow down here, and I think he does. He's slowing down here on the corner right here down the bottom as he tries to use it here down into the NASCAR chicane, get it slowed down and get rid of that slowdown. As Brandon Colley's going to be looking to get around there as we go on board with him.
Going on board with that of Danny Cochran and gain a sense of what the 2 machine is dealing with in real life, as we see it virtually on the left side, the battling and the focus, and you can see it on the 2 machine. Danny is on all focus recognizing, hey, he's being pressured by one of the favorites going into this. Our top 4 really that are in this race currently, that of Vincent Sora, Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran, and that of Brandon Colley. You could say these are our 4, top dogs coming into the playoffs that you expected to do well in the first and second round.
Oh, definitely. So these are the drivers that hopefully, for their sakes, are going to be in the Final Four. But I tell you, there's going to be a lot of guys competing with them, trying to make sure that it isn't. But if you had to pick 4, I think, of the guys throughout the season, these would be our top 4, and it's showing as they're performing on every type of track. And here tonight at Daytona Road Course, right here, proving it all, is, man, the one getting so close to the back bumper of the 2. They definitely are not letting each other get away. Is even up front, Mark Whitley's all over Vincent Sora. So these are great battles we're seeing all around the league here.
I mean, you think back to Lime Rock Park, both these drivers finished 1, 2, 3, with Brandon Colley being the driver that won out and finished that race with over a 5-second lead over that of Danny Cochran. So right now, Danny Cochran trying to beat out that of the 1, say, hey, you might have got me at Lime Rock, but I got you at Daytona Road Course.
Yeah, no, the big thing is, I've talked to these 2 guys about that incident, and even Danny Cochran, who I think he had a little incident coming down that race that actually pulled him back off of Brandon Colley, who he was actually gaining on him in that race. So I think he has that mindset, and he barely misses the exit curve there, has a big mistake. Here comes Brandon Colley with another run, but it's going to be here too, the NASCAR chicane. This is a tough spot to make a pass because it's hard to go enough through here. 1 wide, putting 2 trucks side by side. We'll see Brandon Colley takes an attempt at it here because he's definitely getting held up by his 2.
Going up to the wall and now going to be coming down, trying to set up into the entry of NASCAR chicane. And we'll see if there's going to be a little bit of a bump here. Doesn't look like it, but Colley giving a little bit of a touch to the turtles, but it doesn't look like it hurts the 1 too much, as he's going to still stay right on the bumper. And he can just sense the relief from Danny Cochran for 1 brief moment, but right back to the heavy hitting as they go into the inner for the infield into this first corner.
Yeah, great job by Cochran there to get the power off on that final corner. Brandon Colley had a close attempt there at him. As look now, Trevor Earhart again trying to go around the outside of John Forbes here. I mean, this will be for that final point in the stage. Trevor Earhart in a must-win position, though. He is definitely having a great race nonetheless. And behind him, Ethan Smith. He's drove up into this picture, also behind the 99.
Yeah, I mean, you think both for John Forbes and Ethan Smith, they're both coming 5th, 6th in points, and they feel very comfortable for themselves. Really, the goals for the 11 and for the 00 is just to finish in the top 10, and they should be automatically locked into the next round. So their pressure certainly is run well, but when you're getting this aggressive, you got a driver that has nothing to lose and is out there to just go out for a win if he wants to move on. Otherwise, he's not going to be making it, such as Trevor Earhart. It makes things very tricky when you're trying to race conservative, and they're being extremely aggressive.
Yeah, definitely a tricky position to be in. There's a little Trevor Earhart, a little slideways out of turn number 6. There's that transition. That is always they don't call that a corner there, the transition there, but man, it's almost in a corner itself with these stock cars, with how little grip they have, putting the power down, with how much horsepower they have with these giant stock car tires. And, we've seen the battle for third was really heating up. This is the battle over the lead has stayed about this close that whole time. Whitley has not let off the back bumper of this 15, who has not made a mistake yet.
No, it really hasn't. Continuing to just try to race defensively, and both drivers running very similar lap times in the draft seem to be helping Mark Whitley stay close, at least in the second half of this race. NASCAR chicane goes that of Vincent Sora, and got to say for this 15, running very well, but Zach, lap 9, we're now 2 laps away from stage break, and that means for the hot and heavy position of 5th. That is going to get very reckless here soon, but also up front for getting just that knowing, hey, once the stage break, and we'll just keep on racing on. There will be no yellow thrown for the stage break, but those points still very important.
Those points can be very vital for sure. We've seen how they can swing the tide of anything in these point standings, but man, a few guys that need to get in those points are not near them. And one of those guys, Max Farmer, who made a mistake, he's got his way back up to 10th. He's battling with Sean Huffsteller, but he needs more than that to get by. And they're battling along with Cody Reed in the 25, who just drove up into this.
Yeah, and the big thing right now, we're watching these guys from that of Gregory Shaw. What a run for the 66. We fell all the way back to last after a spin out for himself. Has been able to march back up to 15th. But for that of the 66, his next goal is to get up to the drivers ahead of him as Tyler Dangler actually goes off-track issues for himself. And the 19 getting back on course, and this could be another position for Gregory Shaw, and Tyler Dangler could not afford that mistake. He needed to be up front making some big moves, and falters now back to that 14.
That's a tough position for him. There is now, yeah, push farther even back, and that even allows James Lovell in a position there that's going to help him out, push him up to 13th, and push Tyler Dingler back one more spot. And behind him, Greg Shaw is coming in that 66, so that could be another position that this 19 is not looking forward to losing.
And Zach, this is over a 3.5-mile course. It's about 3.6 miles in total length. But these drivers right now, we're starting to sense that we've got, 9 laps in, about to be 10 laps into this run. Stage break very soon. But drivers now, they're feeling the pain if they were being way too aggressive in those first 3 laps, as there's a lot more slipping and sliding going on, a lot more closer racing as the battle currently for 9th place. Max Foner, Cody Reed, side by side currently for 9th place. And there's about a 4-car pack right here waiting to be embraced as they're heading down into the NASCAR chicane.
Reed makes the pass up the inside. Let's see if he can make the corner here on the final exit. Oh, has a little bit of a mistake. Here comes Max Turner with a decent sized run, but it's not going to be enough to get to that 25. I think you're down into oil, but yeah, this is where the battle has been. I've been watching a lot of these guys battling back and forth. Sean Hustler's got pushed behind him now as Reed got by both of them. It's down into one. Foner takes a look. And I tell you what, they are definitely not giving up a slide for Reed. And this is, like you said, Sam, this is where the tires are starting to show, in the car behind there. He spins. I'm not sure who that was.
Being spun around, that would be, I believe, the lap car of Ryan Ferraro that got spun around. He had actually just come back out on track. So the 12 machine, slow, losing ground, and continues to get out of the way as there goes Loveland moving forward and currently up to 13th. But I got to say, for Max Foner, who had that major issue early on, what a rebound for himself moving forward as we take a look here at the 24 of Mark Morales.
Yeah, definitely a great rebound. And, oh no, as we say that, Foner goes around out of turn 5 here in the keyhole, and he's in the grass, stopped, and he looks like he's going to tow it. He may be done for tonight. I think that what you may call out of frustration there. He says, man, I made too many mistakes tonight, and I don't think I'm going to make it.
Could have been more mistakes from other drivers, and instead of that, takes a tow. This could be putting Max Foner a lap down, and with no yellow going to be thrown, this could be the end of championship hopes for the 51 machine. And Zach, yeah, we've already knew one driver, that of Aaron Kralik, was not going to be able to race here tonight after being suspended from Bristol incident between himself and that of Jonathan Smith. Now we're seeing Max Foner with major issues, seeing his day go up in smoke. Another driver, Christopher Norris, having issues. And our first DNF of the night, Max Foner is done. He has parked it here tonight.
Yeah, well, those 3 guys on the edge of the cut line right under Max Foner, Gregory Shaw, and Tyler Dingler, all of them issues tonight that possibly are going to hold them back now from making that final or that round of 8. And it's a tough night. Road course racing in a final cutoff race, it's a tough position to be in. And I tell you what, these guys are definitely going to be going home not the happiest, as it is going up in smoke for them.
Absolutely has gone up in smoke. And looking at some of our drivers currently, lap 11 is concluding now. So looking at the drivers and where they are, looks like currently it would be that of Vincent Sora, Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran, Brandon Colley, and Trevor Earhart going to be getting those bonus points for themselves.
Yeah, great job by Trevor Earhart there to get that position from John Forbes and put himself into the bonus points. He is in a must-win scenario. If something crazy happens, he still has a chance, so we can't leave Trevor Earhart out of this, but he's definitely in a must-win scenario that he needs major issues for our top 4 to have, as they've got about a 10-second gap back to him in that 99 machine. But I tell you what, Vincent Sora up front, he started to open the gap back up to Mark Whitley. But the thing I'm really thinking about now is, what are the pit stops going to do here? This is going to be a critical phase of the race. What I'm looking at, too, is lap times that are starting to even out a little bit. You're seeing where once they got to around lap 5, Vincent Sora-Lear's been around a 157, anywhere in that range to a 150, a low 158. So I'm seeing those lap times very much even out. But I tell you what, we could see some undercuts. We're riding on board here. Somebody just blows the chicane. That's Ethan Smith.
Ethan Smith cannot be making those types of mistakes and going to be falling back to 7th place. And the 00 now going to be having a lot of troubles for himself. As right now, Trevor Earhart, John Forbes, they continue to battle back and forth. This is very important. I threw out stage break on what drivers I thought it was going to be. Right now, this could be the changing factor. John Forbes pressuring heavily on the 99. And really, this is the only important point to be grabbed. Our front four, technically, because of that Danny Cochran and Brandon Colley just starting this race and not enough drivers showing up, our top four are already locked into the next round. 4 other positions need to be grabbed. And for this, Trevor Earhart needs every point possible. As John Forbes comes in 6th in points, but because of the drivers that have DNF'd or are just a lap down, could be seeing the factor of this 11 machine soon to say that he could be locked in, as well as Ethan Smith looking very good currently with the amount of drivers that are still out on track.
Yeah, these guys definitely got to be feeling a lot better. James Lovewood, John Forbes, all of these drivers, says the amount of drivers has dwindled, and the chances for points to be lost has dwindled for them also. And I'll tell you what's also dwindled is the lead up front. It really all dwindled too, which is very interesting, is in the very last chicane. And what I'm seeing is Vincent sort of looks quicker through the infield, through the bus stop. But that last chicane of this track, Mark Whitley is exceptionally quicker. And last time by, he was about a half a second quicker than Vincent Sora, and he really closed the gap down. He's going to be even closer this time as they're running through the bus stop. We could see some definitely interesting moments here if he gets close enough.
Absolutely, as we're seeing right now, the 94 Sean Hutztetler, our driver that is our bubble driver coming into the night. He was 8th in points, but just 5 points over Max Foner. With Mo Foner gone, next driver he's got to worry about is Gregory Shaw, and Shaw's back in 14th and behind. Then you got Tyler Dangler, who's also been struggling, and you look at some of the other drivers. That Thomas Walters up in 8th, but only ahead by 2 positions. So that's just not enough points that can be grabbed currently. So right now, our top 8 that came in tonight, Zach, because of the small field that showed up here tonight, could be the same 8 that get to move on moving forward, but still a lot of racing to be seen. And hopefully you don't get tired of this track, because we're going to be seeing a lot of it this week, mainly this Friday. We've been talking about it, harping on it all throughout these past couple of months. It's the 6 hours at Daytona for diabetes. And I got to say, Zach, this is the first annual race in the amount of drivers and teams that are showing up for this event. It has surpassed any of our imaginations. We are so excited for Friday night.
Right now, just hit 42 entries. And remember, those signups close at 11:59 Eastern PM time there on Thursday night. So make sure you're signed up before we head off into that Friday, because that Friday, man, I can't wait for it, Sam. It's going to be a big event for us here, but also a big change of racing for us up here in the booth, and also for such a great cause. So make sure, if you haven't yet, head down through the description, because we have the event details down there where you can find everything from the Discord channel with all the information on it, the signups if you want to race in the race, and also the links to our broadcast here for when you can pay attention to that race coming up this week on Friday. I cannot wait, Sam. It's going to be a blast. My first time commentating the race and racing in it, so it's going to add a whole different spectrum for me.
Oh, it's so exciting. 6 hours fully covered here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. And we talk about entries coming in. It is free entries if you'd like to race. Just make sure you get yourself in there, and maybe a teammate to help you along as we continue to watch. Oh boy, Collie, those turtles and those bumps aren't supposed to do that for your truck, as the one losing ground after really a bad exit through the bus stop. Now going to have to carry that speed and try to regain on that of Danny Cochran as the laps tick away. Again, at the end of lap 15 will be the end of the stage for these drivers, so still a couple of laps to go, but a lot of racing has already been seen here tonight. The drivers pick and choose when they want to come into pit road, but 6-hour event, we're excited to give you all coverage, and who knows who's going to be in the booth for that night. We know that I'm going to be in there, Zach's going to be in there. There's a couple of other names and faces that we're excited to be in the booth for 6 hours of constant coverage for the 6-hour event at Daytona. As we continue to watch these drivers on, Thomas Walter, one of those drivers outside looking in, and he's going to need a little bit more help. A great run for Thomas Walter, I think, surprising himself, running in 8th. But Zach, there's just not enough positions right now for this 57 to move on to the next round unless he can somehow finish in the top 3.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that he's going to have a good run here tonight. That's going to come up a little bit short for the playoffs, it seems. And, nonetheless, still a great run for Thomas Walter. If he could have had a little bit better start last week to his playoff run, he could have possibly been in position for this. But, nonetheless, having a great run here right now. Ethan Smith directly ahead of him. He can't look too far behind because he's got Cody Reed. as it's kind of been switched up between this whole group here. They've been all stuck together from the start of this race, and it's been fantastic to watch. As even our top two have just, I mean, driven into the sunset, even on that second or that third and fourth place battle too. So, gotta say, a wonderful race here so far at Daytona, but we're not even halfway. As they got a long way to go, and it gets tougher and tougher as this thing goes on.
It's getting very tough now, especially points-wise, as our field continues to shrink. We know Jonathan Smith did note on it, but he had issues for the 32, has been in pit road trying to get major service done. Max Foner, we already noted on, DNF'd from the race. We now can add another driver to that. Cody Reed in the 9 is done. So we're left with 18 drivers still out on track, which, with where the drivers lie currently and the points that can be gained, this potentially puts that of Ethan Smith in a potential lock-in with the amount of drivers that are left out on track.
It's going to be a good feeling for him for sure to be able to lock himself in here in the next few for sure. Is that's always the best feeling, just to know, man, I'm going on to the next round. Everything starts from a clean slate there in round of 8, and you'll have a good shot to try to go there and make it to the final 4, which, you know, is so tough to do. But anybody can do it. We've seen, you know, throughout our other seasons in the Cup Series, anybody can get to that Final 4 and have a shot at a championship, and that's all that's going to matter at the end.
We're now on lap 15 with the 15 up front. That's going to be Vincent Sora, currently your leader, as when the drivers come across the line, that will be the end of our stage break. And a driver that is deciding to come into pits sooner than later, it is going to be that of Thomas Walter, who is in our top 10. We were just talking about the 57, going to be one of the first drivers into pit road here to get service done. And now watching the 77 of Mark Whitley, trying his best to run down Vincent Sora, but it's looking like Mark Whitley, he catches up at times, then falters trying to save his tires. Just was not enough currently. Needs a major mistake from the young gun of Vincent Sora.
Yeah, Vincent Sora has not cracked. He's had mistakes once he's got a little bit of a lead, but once Whitley has got there, he's turned rock solid, and that's what you need to do. You gotta have the mental fortitude when that driver gets close to not give them the chance to make the pass, because I tell you, at a road course, it's, you know, you can be quicker than somebody, but just because you're quicker in a stock car, you got to make almost a very big difference to make that move. You got to be more than just quicker. You got to be a lot faster. So if you don't go out there and pressure somebody into a mistake, passes are very hard to do at road courses. You can place your truck in a very good spot to be able to hold people off. And right there, seeing that, again, that last chicane, Whitley's very strong through there. It's just sometimes he has a little bit of mistake when he does it. So we got to clean that up. If he can, he'll get there because he has the speed. But Vincent Sora also, you got to think out front, he's got the clean air.
And Vincent Sora going to be taking stage number 1 here at that of the chaotic K-9 125 here at the Daytona road course for the final race of the round of 16 to see the 8 drivers will move on and still have hopes to race for a championship. It has been a crazy race here so far tonight. As stage 1 is done, we now race to the end. Again, no yellow will be thrown, so the drivers have a lot of confidence as we now throw it down to pit road. Brian Johnson, pit road starting to get busy. A couple of drivers coming into pit road, but what have you been hearing from the drivers?
Yeah, well, I just did, crunched a few numbers here, and looking at their fuel usage per lap, it's about 1.05 to 1.06 gallons, which is going to put them right at about 17 laps. And with a 35-lap race, it's lap 17 or bust. You can't really go further than lap 17, and if you pit before lap 17, you might be a little short at the end. So not a whole lot of room for some pit strategy variation there, but just kind of been analyzing the front 4 drivers here just because I don't want to interrupt anybody while they're doing left and right turns. And, you know, Sora, I'm watching his in-car, and it just gives me anxiety watching him. He is on the knife's edge, giving it everything he's got, and right now it's paying dividends. Mark Whitley, interesting little fact here, he's the only driver that I've seen that isn't using first gear. He's keeping it in second gear, using those low RPMs to help him get out of the corner, which I think is helping him save those rear tires a little bit, able to keep his pace. Danny Cochran, he's pretty smooth, occasional, a little bit of loose on exit, but nothing too bad overall. His flow is pretty good, and Kali is definitely the smoothest driver out of the top 4, but he did have a pretty big mistake hitting the yellow turtles on the exit of the bus stop. So that's why he's kind of back there stuck behind Danny. But overall, I think this race is going pretty well. A lot of guys having some good success, and I think it's a perfect cutoff race for the round of 16.
It has been spectacular to see how these drivers have had to react throughout the night. Thank you, Brian, for being our pit road reporter and getting us the info. And, while we were hearing from Brian, pass was made there, Zach, as that of Collie, able to get by Danny Cochran after a mistake at the bus stop.
Yeah, the spot that Brandon Colley makes a mistake is the same spot that Danny Cochran goes. It makes the mistake that gives up the position, and great move from Brandon Colley, makes the pass, then solidly sticks it into the last NASCAR chicane and clears the two, as now the two going to take a little bit of a jab down here into turn number 5. And I tell you what, these two right here have definitely been used to racing each other all of this race for the first 17 laps, and it doesn't look like that's about the end, as the two is coming right back at him and always going to dive it to the inside there, lose the rear, and definitely being a little bit aggressive there from the two machine.
Well, we just heard from Brian Johnson. This is the lap that a lot of drivers are aiming to come into pit road. So you want to be in front of the driver when you're coming in. So all the pressure's on to make sure you can get into pit road cleanly and quickly. And so the pressure was on for Danny Cochran, trying to rebound after his mistake a lap ago, but not able to get close enough. And also, Zach, we're starting to see that orange hue just a little bit more. The sun's starting to set ever so slightly, and that's going to be putting the pressure on these drivers to make sure that they don't have any issues on the front stretch as the sun continues to dip down. But pit road soon to get busy as we wait to see, will we see Vincent Sora come to pit road this time? By he does not, goes another lap, but Mark Whitley into pit road for the 77.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting situation here. Vincent Sora, he's in a tough spot. When you're the leader, you got the second place driver behind you that close, especially, you're in a tough spot. If you pit this lap like Mark Whitley does, he goes an extra lap, has the fresher tires, comes out in the same spot he was, but has the fresher tires. Now, though, Mark Whitley is going to try to use these fresher tires to jump this 15 here in this pit sequence, and I would not be surprised with the amount of fall off we've seen here, about around 2 seconds to almost even 3 here. He should be able to close that gap, as he was about 1.9 when he came down. As Brandon Colley there in the 1, also on pit road. We also seen, I believe, the 2 of Danny Cochran. He stays out another lap, so it looks like the 2 teammates there are going to stay out another lap here, Sam. This could be detrimental to his race, because I think now he's going to get by that 77, and once we hit lap 5, our lap times have been pretty much the same from there, so I think track position becomes a very valuable point. If Vincent Sora is going to get it done, he's going to have to use those new tires quickly to do it.
It's going to be a lot of work as more drivers deciding to not come into pit road this go around. That's going to be Sean Hutzstutler as well as Martin Morales Jr. Both going to be staying out. The rest of the field just came in, and expecting a lot of them to come into pit road once again to just top up with fuel if you had already pitted, or come in and make sure you get your service done, as still we wait for the 4 drivers that still need to come to pit road. Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, as well as that of Sean Hutzstutler and Martin Morales Jr., your 4 drivers that still need to make a pit stop here tonight. Only a fit total of 2 drivers have officially DNF'd here as the drivers continue to race on. It's incredible to see here, Zach, as we're getting to halfway. The pressure is on for the drivers that are outside looking in. Max Boner, Gregory Shaw, that of Tyler Dangler, Thomas Walter. They needed a perfect race. They needed some of the drivers that were at that bubble spot to just falter and have major mistakes. They haven't happened just yet, but there's still a lot of racing, as here comes Vincent Sora into pit road.
Critical here, Sam. What's going to happen here for the 15 when it comes to the 77? As the 77 on Whitley, he has gone through the bus stop chicane already. He's coming down here to the NASCAR chicane. I think he'll easily have the lead here, and we'll just have to see how close it is. I think it's going to be around a second gap back to with Mark Whitley out front to this 15, but we'll see as Whitley jumps the curb there on the final corner. That's going to slow him down a little bit here and maybe give this 15 a chance to be a little bit closer.
And here comes Mark Whitley. He's going to come across the line now as that of Vincent Sora is taking off from his pit stop. Mark Whitley able to make the pass, but what is one lap going to be on that advantage? Also, hitting the rumble strips, having an issue on some of these chicanes. When you're slipping and sliding this early on, that's rubber you are going to be losing later and later in the run. So got to make sure you're consistent. But luckily for Mark Whitley, there is a bubble driver, that of the 38 of Christopher Norris, that's going to be a buffer between the 77 and the 15.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting scenario with Christopher Norris right in the middle. He cannot hold up the 15, or the 15 is definitely going to be in a trouble here, because looking at it overall, that in lap from Mark Whitley, 2 seconds quicker than Vincent Sora. That is impressive to see, and look at this. That's the gap that he has. So right there, came down to it. It was Mark Whitley that made the time there in the in lap. We'll see what Vincent's out lap is here compared to Mark Whitley's last out lap. But right now, the ball court is in Mark Whitley's court, and he is definitely in control of this race now.
In control by almost 2 seconds and continuing to try to pull away. He might have came in a lap sooner, which could have been the move of the race to get another win for that of Mark Whitley. Whitley, Vincent Sora, the rivalry's been brewing all season long. They came in today's race tied with 4 wins, and both have been very consistent when they show up to race. They've been the top 2 dogs. They still are the top 2 here tonight at the Daytona road course for that of the chaotic K-9 125 at the Daytona road course for the round of 6. See who will be moving on to the round of 8. Zach, I mean, we've been watching these drivers. We've seen, and you've raced in the NAISCC Cup Series, and they have basically the same exact format for the playoffs. It's 2 races for the round of 1, 2 races for the round of 2 to figure out who's going to be racing the championship race. The pressure is on to be perfect for just 2 races for each round. For both these drivers that are already locked in, though, the pressure's off. They just have to race as hard as they want. And right now, Mark Whitley looking fast and quick once again, pulling away from the 15.
Yeah, he is doing a great job. Vincent Sora actually makes a mistake out of the bus stop, and that was critical there. He's about a second slower than Mark Whitley's outlap was from his outlap. So again, that just equates to the time difference that we've seen between these 2 drivers. So right now, it's been pushed into Vincent Sora's mindset that he's going to have to run this 77 down and make the pass. We've seen the 77 get close to the 15 multiple times. Never able to make the pass. So can we see that the 15 can do something different? He's going to have the upper advantage when it comes down to the end with a little bit fresher tires and fresher rear tires through the majority of this. But if Mark Whitley plays this clean enough, he will be out front with a good advantage here with this clean air.
Going to be around lap 1, about lap 23 to 24. That's when we might see that advantage really kick in for Vincent Sora. But that's going to be a while from here, as we are now coming up to 15 laps to go when they come across the line. It is Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora, Brandon Colley, Danny Cochran, and Trevor Earhart, your top 5 currently, as we are getting ready here tonight. It has been a blast to watch the drivers that if we're in our top 16 that made it to the playoffs. Congratulations to them. But for 8 of the drivers that came into the playoffs, they will not be racing for a championship after tonight is done. For us of the booth, though, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more racing action here for the chaotic K-9 125 at the Daytona road course. Who's moving on to the next round? You'll find out here in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAISCC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series for that of the chaotic K-9 125 at the Daytona Road Course to figure out who's moving on to the round of 8. We have 16 drivers officially come into tonight's race, hoping for their playoffs to continue on, but currently, right now, where drivers lie and the amount of drivers that have DNF'd from the race, we now know of 4 drivers that are officially locked in. Mark Whitley, after winning at Bristol 2 weeks ago, was locked in from that. Coming into this race, Vincent Sora was locked in by points, but because of just starting this race, Danny Cochran, Brandon Colley, both are going to be locked in as well. Ethan Smith, he's a question mark. If we see another driver DNF from this race, then that of the 00 will be officially locked in as we watch the battling going on currently. Gregory Shaw, that of Tyler Dangler, both drivers that are outside looking in, needed to have fantastic races, needed to finish in the top 3. Seemed almost impossible, but they're going to need a lot of help for themselves as tonight's race slowly ticking away. My name is Sam Zyer. With me is Zach Hall, our pit reporter, being that of Brian Johnson, and always running productions, that being Robert Moyer Jr. And I gotta say, Zach, tonight's race, kind of what we were expecting for the drivers that are up front, but the middle of the pack, it has been just chaotic on who's been making the bigger mistake compared to everyone else.
No, it definitely has, Sam. It's been mistake after mistake back here in the pack, but it's definitely created for a chaotic style race here, and what a perfect sponsor it was tonight with the K-9. So definitely a perfect time for that as you're watching Dingler. They're still battling. His Hustler, he made the huge mistake. He's behind these two now, trying to get more positions back up, and he's just making it tougher on himself and more to worry about in these moments, but they still need to make up a lot of positions on this 94 machine. So he goes to the inside of Tyler Dingler and takes that spot down here in the 1. Great move there from Hustler. Going to try to run up here and get another spot here in that 94 truck. But I tell you what, we talked about those new tires and the difference between our leaders up front. Well, they have definitely gotten together now, and Vincent Sora is here. We're just trying to use those tires to see if he can make advantage of it. And also, remember, Vincent Sora, he goes 18 laps on the first run. Mark Whitley, he's going to have to go 18 on the second run compared to Vincent Sora's 17 on the last part.
Yeah, and also, you know, for that of Vincent Sora, one of the drivers that we noted on around lap 23 to 24, because he had a lap advantage coming into pit road. He was going to be around this marker when those tires were going to start to equal out with one another. And that's why we're seeing the 15 gaining in on time. But Zach, we haven't really touched on a lot on where are the best zones to make passes. Well, with Mark Whitley making mistakes like that, I think anywhere on track might be a good place to make a pass.
Yeah, the easiest place to make a pass is when that 77 slips up and just makes it an easy one. But right there into the International Horseshoe is also a good spot to pass. But down here to Kink Route, not really a corner you can pass here in turn 4 as they head to 5 after this high-speed left-hander here. Turn 5 can be a passing zone, but it is a very interesting corner here in the keyhole, and it's a corner that really you want to try to set up a pass as he goes through the inside, looking there and making Mark Whitley think he's going to put the power down here as we come out of 5 down to 6. This could be a passing zone, but that bus stop is definitely one of the better ones as we head to this long straightaway out of here at 6.
It's all about the exit here from the 15. How well can he get off, or will the 77 slip up? Currently, both great launches out of turn number 6, and now what would be NASCAR turn number 1 and 2. But for the road course, it's turn 7 and 8. Zach, you were talking with me during our commercial break about how Mark Whitley, one of the drivers that he sometimes makes mistakes here on road courses when he feels the pressure. And right now, Vincent Sora, he was leading for the first half of this race. He's now got to put the pressure on the 77.
Yeah, this is the reverse roles. We didn't see Vincent Sora crack at this pressure right here of being directly on the back bumper. We'll see what Mark Whitley has now in the 77 machine, and definitely going to have a lot of pressure as we ride on board down to NASCAR chicane. And with these newer tires, Vincent's been able to get here, but once he's gotten this distance, it's been hard to close in. But again, I think this distance is the pressure distance. You keep the driver thinking behind you, hey, I got to keep hitting my marks, and sooner or later, they will make that mistake. And also, I got a little rumblings from pit road that the 15 camp, they think that a 77 is going to be tight on fuel on this last run, since they were a little bit tight on that 18-lap run there. Maybe had to even save a little bit possibly. So we could be seeing Mark Whitley in that same boat at some point here.
Will he have to save, or will he be able to pressure on moving forward? Also, some factor we haven't touched on a lot here tonight, lap traffic could be something for these drivers to watch out for, as right now Mark Whitley running and trying to defend, but immediately in front of him will be the 5, Dakota Moniz. So they've got to be careful and hope that the lap car is going to just get out of the way, but there is plenty of other traffic the longer this run goes on that these guys are going to have to worry about later as we're coming up to 10 laps to go when they come across the line. There's Dakota Moniz and our leaders just about a corner away as they're still right on top of one another. Vincent Sora putting the pressure on Mark Whitley as Whitley. He's got to be careful here, but also if he's planning on saving fuel, I wonder how much Vincent Sora. I mean, that's always the first pit stop or only pit stop. There's so much knowledge you could take from it, and I'm wondering from the 15 camp, how aggressive do they want to be here, and do they want to wrestle the feathers of the 77 after all the bumping, all the wrecking for the wins throughout the season? Will we see another one here tonight?
Oh, and he's going to be close here. Sam, the 15, looking close enough for possible lunging distance. As Moniz is just going to go straight through the corner here, not trying to hold anybody up. But I tell you what, this is the pressure that Mark Whitley's going to have to be tough. But the closer Vincent Sora also gets in that, especially the bus stop there, the worse that dirty air gets. So we'll have to see as he drops back a little bit. But man, if he continues to get runs like that out of turn 6, that's where he's going to be looking to make the pass down to the bus stop. Here heading down to the final chicane down here for NASCAR chicane. And this could be also another spot where the bumper could be used. If he's this close coming down to the white flag, I think the pass is made in the final corner.
It's going to be a very all about how do you get a better exit. But we've seen Mark Whitley. It's been the second half of the race when 77's been at its strongest. It's this aspect into turn 1, going into the infield where we've seen a lot more speed from the 15, and all that closing rate starts to kick in. And we even heard from Brian Johnson. The fact that Mark Whitley isn't really shifting down into first gear a lot, that could be a reason why he's not as strong as Vincent Sora in the infield section.
No, that definitely could be. You know, that first gear, it's a love-hate relationship. It helps you, first of all, get the car to slow down and turn and rotate a little better, but also gives you a little more power and torque in the wheels. But that is also, you know, given the fact that with the more power and torque, you can spin the rear tires up more and heat them up more and make them worse. So Whitley's going with a little bit less aggressive approach with the second gear, but I tell you what, that first gear, it can be pretty scary and detrimental here as they try to put the power out of 6. This is where Sora was much better last time. Whitley had a big slide, but this time it looks like Sora is going to have the slide. So again, like I said, you can get this close, but getting this close to making the pass is a whole different story. His best chance was last time. He's going to have to continue to stay in this distance, so if he does make a mistake, he's close enough to pounce.
We know we said that Vincent Sora had that advantage of hitting a lap later, but how much of an advantage is it now? Because we're seeing these drivers being 7, 8 laps into this run, and Vincent Sora had to really use up a lot of rubber to catch up to the 77. At this point, he might be out of luck trying to make a pass, but we know mistakes could be growing as 10 laps to go, coming up to 9 laps to go as the drivers race on forward. Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora, Brandon Colley, Danny Cochran, Trevor Earhart going to be your top 5. Currently, as we come into the NASCAR chicane, a place where we could see some contact and fireworks later on here tonight as they come clean at the exit, but a slide by the 15, losing a little bit of ground as Mark Whitley once again leads another lap.
Yeah, I think that tire advantage, like you said, Sam, that one lap, it's gone. I don't see it being too much of an advantage now. In my position, I would rather be out front than that second place car. It's just so much harder to set up a pass. Like I said earlier, not really too many passing zones here. I mean, it's a tough place to pass at, especially in a stock car where you're sliding around trying to put the power down. As he gets almost to the bumper, that makes Mark Whitley jump on the gas. Though, so that's the thing. You get close, it makes someone jump on the gas. That's when they spin the tires up. So the more Vincent Sora is able to do that, the more pressure you can put on him, the more likely Mark Whitley is to make that mistake that allows him to get by. Another thing we've seen in that last run, Vincent Sora, the last 3 or 4 laps, much quicker than Whitley, was starting to struggle with the tires compared to the 15. I think this will go towards the 15's way as the run goes on, especially with that 1 lap pressure. But at the moment, I think it's kind of status quo. Who is just not making the most mistakes is going to be the quicker driver.
And another factor for us to be watching out for, we looked at patterns from our first pit stop and stint that was going on. We saw a lot of the field when they were 10 to 11 laps into a run. That's when they started to slip and slide. This next lap is going to be marking 10 laps into the stint for the 77. The lap after that will be 10 laps for Vincent Sora. So Mark Whitley starting to inch into that frame of if you were not saving and protecting your tires, you could be seeing yourself slipping more and more each lap as we continue forward.
Oh, what a little slip up there from Vincent Sora out of the bus stop that allows Mark Whitley to open the gap up just a few more car lengths. But right here, Vincent staying within that range that he needs to. 9 to go, coming to 8 to go. You know, Mark Whitley, this is a tough spot to be in for him, but I tell you what, we've seen all season long. He's the guy who's led the most laps throughout the season. He is a tough competitor to beat and a tough one to get out in front of, but man, does Vincent close the gap here. It's within a truck length here down to the start-finish line. Now into 1, this is going to be the most pressure the 77's had the whole time.
Going to be right on the back bumper into turn number 1. Who's going to get on the brakes a little bit sooner? Vincent Soares still keeping the pressure. He's going to try to get back into the throttle right on the back bumper. A little bit of a tap there as they go through the S's and into the infield, heading towards the International Horseshoe. Vincent Soares has an opportunity here, but decides to just follow the 77, continuing pressuring, and going to make the 77 slip up there, doing that little bit of a drift. That's going to be costly for the 77 for this upcoming corners.
Yeah, it definitely was, but also Vincent Soares there, as he's seen that happen, I think he got a little bit greedy, stepped on the power and lost the rear a little bit too here. As he goes into this corner, he locks it up big time. Luckily, does not go straight off. That is a tough corner not to go straight off into that grass and have a huge mistake. He is lucky for that instant there. He's able to hold on to it here and drop back a few truck lengths, but that lets him have another chance to fight here in these final 8 laps, Sam.
Mark Whitley feeling the pressure and seeing the sun as the drivers come out of turn number 6 and onto the NASCAR oval. It is pressure cooking moments like this. 8 laps to go. Both of these drivers not in a trouble spot where they feel like they're going to be losing out, as they both came into this race locked into the next round, which next round, Zach, it is going to be chaotic. Talladega, Michigan. Those are the 2 races to find out who's going to be racing for a championship. So you've got to be getting all your, hesitancies, any scares, get them out now, because it's just going to get more and more stressful for these upcoming weeks.
Oh, it's going to be very stressful with those 2 tracks, man. I mean, it's pretty much 2 super speedways at this point for the final 2 races to get to that final 4, and you couldn't be more nerve-wracking of a place there at those 2 places. You see Vincent sort of again closing the gap down, really trying to make up this time. This racing right here between these 2 could carry on through the next few weeks, how it is played out here. We'll see what Vincent Soares does. But I tell you what, we got to remember that the last time that we had an incident between these 2, it was Mark Whitley putting the bumper to the 15. We'll see what the 15 does to the 77.
We've seen our top 2 for majority for these last couple of laps. Some of the other drivers that were needing to have good runs. Cody Reed back here in 6th place. Kind of a similar situation of 5th place runner Trevor Earhart in a must-win scenario. You fall back also for another spot. That's where you see some other drivers just struggling here tonight. John Forbes just needed to have himself a top that of a 15 run. Another driver is going to be DNFing. That of Tyler Dangler's night is finished. So the 11 with that DNF, believe it puts now that of John Forbes and Ethan Smith both going to be locked in moving forward. So there's only 2 spots open that can be grabbed. That's going to be James Loveland, Sean Hutstetler. They've got to make sure that they do not have an utter collapse in these final couple of laps. And hope that of Gregory Shaw and also that of Thomas Walter don't just have a resurgence of speed to somehow get up front.
Yeah, that's going to be definitely a tough case for them to try to do that. So it looks like they're in a good scenario here, but definitely Ethan Smith and the 11 of John Forbes definitely got to be feeling a sigh of relief, even though they're probably not paying attention to that too much, because you got to focus 100% on this road course. But nonetheless, they got to be feeling good. Oh man, I think we might have a battle for the lead actually heating up here down into the final chicane.
Here they come. A fabulous run from Vincent Soares out of the bus stop. Now going to be going through NASCAR turns 3 and 4, right on the back bumper to the inside, coming into the NASCAR chicane. You don't want to be going side by side in here. Contact! They're gonna bump. They both wreck. The inside wall goes down to the 15 over the bumps and the turtles at 77. Oh my goodness, we knew it was gonna happen, and just like that, 7 laps to go, coming to 6 laps to go. Mark Whitley, Vincent Soares making contact, damage on both vehicles, and here comes Brandon Colley, but he's gonna be 20 seconds back. It might be too much to gain for the one, but contact and issues for both, and they're still within 2 seconds of one another here, Zach. The battle is not over yet.
Oh, I don't think we've seen the end of this with 6 to go. If the 15 gets back, we may see even more fireworks flies. These 2, they cannot stay off each other. We've seen it all season long. When they get near each other and they race each other, it just equates to incidents between these 2. And man, That's a tough situation there. It's so hard to go side by side to that area of the racetrack that I don't really know how to call that one there. It was just hard racing, but now you got to think the 15 is going to be upset. So is the 77, as they're both the races have been upset by this, but they got to think big picture here coming down to the end.
Big picture, and here comes Vincent Sora, going to be raw hard on the brakes coming into turn number 6, and Mark Whitley going to be trying to defend and block the best that he can, and Mark Whitley's been known being very aggressive on the blocking. He's willing to make some moves, little bit of a bump there as coming out of the corner. You can tell the damage too much for Mark Whitley. Vincent Sora surges on, the 15 takes the lead, coming up to that of 5 laps to go here when they come across the line, but onto the backstretch. Vincent Sora, he just has to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes as Brandon Colley is too far back to even try to make a chance for the pass.
Oh man, Sam, this is definitely changed things up. That is major damage on the 77, and he has got super slow speed right now on the straights. He's gonna have a tough time possibly even holding Brandon Colley off here for a top 2 position with how slow that truck is on the straightaway. And I'd have to even wonder, does he have a meatball flag? No, he doesn't, as we can look here now on iRacing. Thank you for that update, iRacing, to see what type of flags they have. But yeah, he is definitely struggling with speed, and it's straightaway speed and power here as he hopped that when that wreck happened. It looked like he hopped the curb, and when he hopped that curb, it really hurt the front of the end of that truck.
Yeah, I thought maybe the hop of the curb wouldn't be as bad. I saw Vincent Sora nose it into the inside wall. Not really that hard of contact, but thought maybe Vincent Sora would have gotten the worst out of that issues. But I think, if anything, I would have preferred Mark Whitley going into pit road right when he could immediately there. Come into pit road, get service, get some fresh tires, fuel, and make a light dash here in this race. You might be able to even pass that of Colley and Danny Cochran with the amount of speed that he could put down. But now, Mark Whitley is just hoping he had a big enough gap to hold off for 5 laps. I just don't see 15 seconds being enough time with how slow the 77 is. But for Vincent Sora, I'm just shocked. Even with the damage the 15 has, still able to run very similar lap times that Colley and Danny Cochran are putting down.
Yeah, for him, he needs to always back it down anyways. He knows he's got power in the truck left, so he can definitely slow his corners up a little bit and make still the speed on the straightaways. Whitley has really got a charge. He could not slow down. He has got major damage on these straights, so he's got to make up as much time as possible in the infield and through the corner sections of these racetracks. And I tell you what, with the gap that we're seeing between these two, I don't see him hanging on the third here. This is just too much speed loss for that 77, and the 1 and the 2, they're going to be closing in very quickly.
We knew there were going to be fireworks at some point. The gloves were off. Both drivers, both were locked into the next round, so they could make contact, and it wouldn't hurt either driver going to the next round, but it certainly could take away a victory. And for Mark Whitley, late block, bumping with Vincent Sora. Sora went with the late move. He was there. They tried to go side-by-side in a corner that you really shouldn't go side-by-side, and contact was made between the 15 and the 77. Sora gets away unscathed. Mark Whitley struggling, limping, 5 laps to go as the 15 continues to race on. I gotta say, Zach, we knew the fireworks were gonna be popping off here at some point during the playoffs. They hit here at Daytona Road Course.
And we could see this all carry over. I'm sure the 77's not gonna be happy how this all play out. And, you know, even just, I'd have to go look back at that incident so many more times to give a fair assessment of it, but just thinking over my head, you know, Whitley's defending the inside there. He doesn't want to give up the inside to let the 15 have that clean shot up that inside there. And, man, it's such a tough scenario to be in as drivers there in that corner where it tightens up into the braking zone. It's a turn into the braking zone. You know, the 15 is going on push wide. He's on the less optimal line on the inside of the angle. Then you have the 77 who's trying to cut down, pinch him there, and keep him tight to that curb so he has to slow down. They make contact, and yeah, it goes worse for the 77 who, you know, just hopped the curb the wrong way and got the major damage from those turtles.
Well, Zach, you said you wish you could look at it a couple of more times. I think we might have the replay. We're going to take our first Freaky Fast Broadcasting, take a look at this incident. We believe we have it here on cams, and we're going to be seeing it coming into the entry. This is the contact we were talking about. The battling, the run, the 15 of Vincent Sora gets to the bottom corner panel. They're side by side coming out of NASCAR turn 4 and into the NASCAR chicane, and you see the move coming down. 77 went with his normal speed, but Vincent Sora was there, nowhere to go for either driver, and they just go spinning into the turtles for the 77, the 15 into the inside wall. Zach, I mean, it looked pretty cut and dry, side by side. Mark Whitley thought he was going to have a little bit more space coming down.
Yeah, I think he kind of misjudged that a little bit now looking at that. I think he thought there was more space there on the inside of the curve because, I mean, the 15, his angle, the way he was always going to push wide a little bit there, looking at the angle of where he's at. But at the same time, he's right on top of the curve, really nowhere else place for him to go. It's just, like I said, again, a corner that turns in a braking zone that turns. And when you have braking zones that turn, it's just so hard to race side by side and have a certain etiquette to it. And yeah, tough scenario for those guys. But I tell you what, Mark Whitley, though, with 3 to go here, I don't think he's going to be able to hold this position here at 202.9 back to Brandon Colley's 158.4. Colley dropped it down to a 159 there. That's only 3 seconds gain, so that he's going to need to gain more than that if he wants to get this position.
It's going to be close, and Mark Whitley's got to be hoping that his engine doesn't blow. We're going to go to our last report. 3 laps to go here at the chaotic K-9 125. Brian Johnson down at pit road, being our pit road reporter. What do you got down there, Brian?
Yeah, I was just listening to the radio chatter with that incident between the 15 and the 77, and I think there's definitely going to be some disagreements about that one. So as soon as we think the rivalry might be over, kind of simmering down, I think we just sparked it back up again. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on those two for the rest of the season, like we weren't anyway. But you know, it's going to be very interesting between those two now.
Yeah, I mean, what a race it is here tonight. This is the last race of the round of 16 to see who will be moving on to the round of 8. Vincent Soar, Mark Whitley already were locked in. Brandon Colley and Danny Cochran going to be moving in as well. You can join in John Forbes, Ethan Smith on where they're running and the amount of drivers that are still out on track. They should be as well good to be moving forward. Zach, this was the 4th to last race of the season. We only got 3 more races after this. Talladega, Michigan, and then we put it all on the line at that Atlanta. So drivers, they're putting the pressure on. I don't know if you can really truly get payback at Talladega or Michigan, but certainly at Atlanta, you can make some big moves there for a championship gold. But that's it. Both drivers make it to that point.
Yeah, that, you never want to see it end up like that. You want to see it won on hard-fought battles between the 2 drivers. So hopefully nothing, unfortunate happens between these two to determine their fates in these final few races of the season. But man, yeah, it's been a close battle between the 2. I mean, it's just 2 really strong drivers who are fighting for the same spots on the track, and it's always going to come, always going to become push come to shove when these things start to happen. So, I've seen it before, and it's not something I'm not surprised. So, man, it's going to be crazy, like you said, to watch this all play out, though, down to the end.
Down to the end, it has certainly been a good one. 2 laps to go with that of Vincent Sora currently in the infield, trying to get out of here cleanly for himself. And all eyes also are going to be on for second place. Will Mark Whitley be able to hold on for second? Will he be able to hold on for third? Because right now, Brandon Colley, Danny Cochran, they're just about a second and a half off one another. So if Whitley gets caught, Danny Cochran will be right there as well to be able to make this pass.
Yeah, I think with the lap times that Brandon Colley's making, unless he makes some type of crazy mistake, he should be able to get this 77. Just looking at the speed difference, about 4 seconds a lap between these 2. And it was about a 6-second gap there with 2 to go when they crossed the line. So Brandon Colley should have 2 seconds clear to him. But if that works out, then Danny Cochran should be getting around the 77 right at the very edge of it too. So yeah, Mark Whitley going to be fighting to stay on the podium here. But man, it's going to be tough with that engine damage in his camp here.
It's going to be extremely difficult if he is going to be able to hold on and hope that that engine can even survive. 2 laps to go and coming to the white flag here in just a few moments. I got to say for Vincent Sora, he dominated that first half. He needed to make aggressive moves here late. And now going through the NASCAR chicane, coming to the white flag. I got to say for the 15 machine, he came in with 4 wins, tied with Mark Whitley. He's trying to make 5 going into Talladega, into the round of 8. It's your cosmic candle, white flag, Vincent Sora. What a run it's been for himself as he heads down into turn number 1.
Great run. Yes, it has been. Dominated the first stint. Got up to Mark Whitley. They make contact. He takes the lead from there on out. And now he's been cruising out front in the 15, looking for win number 5 this season and to take the lead in the most wins. So that'll be a big moment for him here as the final 3 races loom.
Only driver that Vincent Sor has to worry about is Thomas Walter ahead of him. There's not really any other drivers after that. And also, back for the battling for second. It has been caught. Mark Whitley, he's got himself a mireful of the one. Brandon Colley's right there. But Danny Cochran made a mistake for the two. He might be too far back to make the pass for third.
Yeah, I think Cochran may be too far back. Brandon Colley should have an easy pass here on the straight once we get out of turn 6. And I think you're going to see that here's the power again, down even through the kink. The 1, just so much more straight line speed. The 77 wiggling on entry, looking to make possibly a mistake. That'll give the 2 a chance. But I think the 1 going to have a clean pass here to get second again in a road course.
Vincent Sora, 20 seconds ahead of this battle that we're watching currently for second place. You knew with the contact that was made between Vincent Sora and Mark Whitley, one of them was going to get the worst and the brunt of it, and it went to Mark Whitley, who now just rides high to the outside. But here's the speed difference from the 1. Brandon Colley, been running consistent for himself, and now moves up to second place. The question is Danny Cochran too far back? I think so. He's still 3.5 seconds back from that of Mark Whitley.
Yeah, Danny Cochran, too many mistakes is what's going to come up in the end to bite him here with this 77 machine not looking to get third. Is now down into the bus stop. Mark Whitley trying to make up time with Brandon Colley maybe to have a chance down into the end, as that's the places he can make speed through is those corners because he just doesn't have the power. But it looks like it's all going to come down to here to Vincent Sora.
Across the line, Vincent Sora getting your win at the chaotic K-9 125. Congratulations on his 5th win of the season, his 12th top 5, 13th top 10, and going into the round of 8 as you're having the most momentum. It's certainly one of the drivers to watch out for, as the battling for second goes to that of Brandon Colley. Third goes to Mark Whitley. Danny Cochran going to be getting 4th. And for everyone else, where they came into today is where they look to be lying, as where the amount of drivers that showed up here tonight, Zach, the top 8 that showed up here, they are going to be the same top 8 that get out of Daytona Road Course.
Yeah, they all come in here and survive and make it to the next round as that final 8, man. Such a tough group. I mean, you got to look at the guy who's last there. He made the Cup Series Final 4, so of Sean Hustar. So look out for him here in this final 8. It's going to be any driver's game, and 4 of these 8 are going to be very happy here in 2 weeks.
They're going to be extremely happy, and man, what a night. As the sun sets, the fireworks certainly were out there on track. Congratulations to Vincent Sora and Brandon Colley and Mark Whitley, your top 3, as they go and deliberate what happened during the incident. We're going to step aside for a quick moment. Hopefully we'll get a word from these drivers, and who knows, the fireworks might not be done. We'll be right back for a post-race show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show. Big shout outs to our amazing sponsors at that at Events Sim Racing, and as well, ButtKicker. We didn't really note on them that much as we should have because its racing got hot and heavy. But for that at Advanced Sim Racing, do want to say if you'd like to get yourself 5% off, use the promo code FreakyFast5. That's all lettered out. FreakyFast5 all together, and get yourself 5% off at one of the best hubs to be getting yourself with either a racing that of chassis or just getting retails for any sim needs, as well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yourself a Gamer 2 and use the promo code FreakyFast20 for 20% off. The fireworks on track were dramatic. The sun is starting to set, but I'm certain that these drivers are still boiling slightly. We're going to start things off with third place finisher, that of Mark Whitley. Mark, it's Sam up in the booth. You got me?
Gotcha.
Well, I know tonight probably was not the way you wanted tonight to go, but give us your rundown of what happened there between yourself and Vincent Sora going into the NASCAR chicane.
Yeah, well, I didn't get a very good run through the bus stop. He was better than me there all night, and I was trying different things, and that time through there, I just missed my line a little bit, and he got a run, and I didn't think he was going to try and do a move there, but that late in the race, I mean, you get so tight behind everybody, it was kind of forced in there, and that turn, that chicane is so tight. I mean, it's almost impossible to go too wide in there, and I don't know. I'd have been fine, but that one of those turtles decided to kill my motor, and that was any chance I had. If that turtle wouldn't hurt the motor, I probably could have walked away because he was turned backwards. But it's road course racing. Stuff happens. I mean, that's that. I'm not a fan of that little chicane there because it makes it enticing to try to pass somebody, but it's almost impossible to go too wide through there. So it is what it is. Kyle got by me on the last lap, but couldn't really do much. Motor was hurt. Just trying to limp it home and got third out of it, so that's not too bad.
Hey, Mark and Zach also up in the booth, man. I tell you what, yeah, just not going your way there with that turtle, damaging the engine, not giving you a chance to finish out the race there and have a battle, man. But I tell you what, nonetheless, a strong effort there still to bring home third with all that damage, man. I know that had to be tough limping that thing around there to the end, trying to save any position you could. But now, you were locked in here tonight with the win last week at Bristol, but now we head off into the round of 8. We got 2 races too. And I got to say, those are 2 very wild card races, if you ask me, at Talladega and Michigan. What's the game plan going into those, buddy? And how do you feel about those? Because those can be very wild races for sure.
Yeah, well, I don't know which one's first, Talladega, Michigan, but Talladega, I'm going to try to stick around the front because I don't know how these drafts are with these cars. I know the Xfinity are pretty good and the Cup cars aren't great on them, so I'm just trying to stick around up front. We got a faster pair, so if worst comes to worst, I got at least something to fall back on. But just try to stick around at front. Probably not going to try to push the issue too much. Just try to get to the end of the race. I feel like if we can do that, it'll be set us up good. In Michigan, it's just going to be about the same thing, trying to stay up front and just try to finish and lock ourselves into that next round and go on from there. Because I think after that's the championship race. So just trying to make it there, maybe go out and win one of these other races and just go ahead and just lock itself in like I did at Bristol, and that'd be a huge weight off the shoulders.
Yeah, Mark, first race going in the round of 8 will be Talladega, then Michigan. And if you make it to the championship race, it will be at Atlanta. But man, tonight, fireworks certainly were off. Maybe we needed a third week off to help you guys out, cool off a little bit. But Mark, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yep, big shout out Harpoon Design putting together this awesome paint scheme. He put it together real quick. Playoff scheme. Want to try to show something special. Angry Duck Graphics. They don't have any order limits. You want to go in there, make a custom shirt, go ahead and you can just order one. They have no order limits. So it's shopangryduck.com, and got to give a shout out to my family. They're always tuning in, always rooting for me, even when stuff happens that isn't the greatest. Then I'll put on an awesome broadcast. It was fun to drive, so it should be fun to watch. And shout out to all the guys in the league. It seemed like it was pretty clean and green. I didn't hear a lot of yelling on the radio, so I think it was all pretty good for everybody, and all the lap cars are really respectful, so couldn't ask for any better from everybody else.
That's going to be the 77 of Mark Whitley coming up third here tonight, and good luck next week, Mark, going into Talladega.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to need it.
As now we give second place finisher late pass on the white flag. It's gonna be that of Brandon Colley that we bring up into the booth. Brandon, it's Sam and Zach up in the booth. You got us?
How's it going, guys?
Well, we're still trying to catch our breath from the chaos, and you kind of got a pass because of the madness that happened for first. But first, let's talk about what happened between you and Danny Cochran. Great battling all race long. How was that battle from your point of view?
Well, I mean, it was a good battle. Road courses, it's difficult when you don't have a severe pace advantage on somebody. Danny's really picked up the pace here, especially this past week. He's found a lot of pace, and I was faster than him, but the dirty air just it proved to be too much. When I had the tires to really do anything, I just couldn't catch him in any good spots, and then when I could catch him, I just couldn't get set up to make a pass, and he held me off the one good charge I have in the bus stop, and it was fun overall, and I know why he was doing it for that playoff point. Just trying to stay a little bit ahead, but we didn't junk each other, even though we really had nothing to lose being locked in. So that was a fun battle.
Yeah, definitely like fun out there, Brandon. Is Zach also up here in the booth, man? I tell you what, great run. Second place here again on a road course. To tell yourself, if I told yourself, before the season started that you'd be second in both road courses, what would you say? And how do you assess that for a season overall?
Well, I'd have said you're crazy. Generally, I don't have too good of luck here. Normally, I make a big mistake and put myself way behind and have to battle back, but somehow I've managed to avoid that. Was a little sloppy tonight compared to Lime Rock, but still managed to come away with a good finish. And I think you've got to be able to finish good at all the tracks during a season to have a chance at the championship. And getting 2 P2s at the road courses this season, it's not P1, but it's a lot better than I figured I'd have done. And I'll take it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, we're now heading to Super Speedway round, technically you call it, for the round of 8, going to Talladega in Michigan. How are you feeling about these next couple of races and trying to make it to the Final Four?
Well, I think probably feeling about as good as anybody else going into Talladega. I mean, there's some guys that maybe they're feeling like they're in a must-win. That they kind of know that it's checkers or wreckers for them, and they might be having a better feeling about it. But anything can happen there, and you really don't want to get put on the back foot at the plate track, having to go into Michigan and needing a good points day to make the Final Four. So hopefully we can go in there, get the teamwork pretty spot on, and find our way to the front, and just not even necessarily win, just get a good finish. Don't get wrecked out. That's the game plan going to Talladega.
Seems like a good game plan there, Brandon, but before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
First of all, thank you guys, Freaky Fast Broadcasting, spending this whole season with us, and every single broadcast has been a blast to go back and watch. Hope everybody enjoyed the race. Secondly, I got to thank my teammates, Category 5 Esports, Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Larry Yingling, Nick Crawford. I've also got to thank new teammates recently announced, Tom Stenchek and Vincent Sora. So congrats, Vinny, on the win tonight as well.
Good to be seeing Category 5 growing each and every season, and we'll see more growth for sure. Brandon Colley, second place finish here tonight, and good luck going into the round of 8.
Thank you, Sam.
And now we get to talk to the man that survived, didn't get as much damage as Mark Whitley did, Vincent Sora. And we'll get his point of view. What happened in the madness going into the NASCAR chicane? Vincent Sora, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I hear you guys.
Well, NASCAR chicane. We asked Mark from his point of view of what happened there. Let's get your side of the story. What was going through your mind going down low and having the position?
I knew that it's a kind of risky spot to try to make a pass, but you kind of have to take what you can get, especially with how bad the dirty air is and the big run that I got. He had a rough bus stop, and I had a pretty good one, and I was able to draft up to his inside. It looked like he kind of tried to defend the inside, but I still got there. And we were alongside, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe just I feel like he kind of just turned across me. I don't think there's much I could do in that situation, and I looked at the replay, and it kind of, I feel like, proves at that point that, I don't know, he just kind of turned across me. That's the only way I see it. It sucks that it happened. I probably would have rather raced it out there to the end, but, we'll take what we can get.
Hey, Vince, it's also Zach up here in the booth, man. Congrats on your 5th win of the season. That's league leading now here as we head into the round of 8, my friend. You've had the consistency this season. You got the most top 5s, 12 coming in here after tonight. Man, though, with that Talladega, Michigan round looming, that has got to feel very concerning from your side of the fence.
Yeah, that's certainly concerning because they're kind of the, I don't know, toss ups. You don't really know who's going to be fast there because not one person will be fast there, especially Talladega. You're kind of just waiting for the big wrecks to happen and hope that you can get through and get a solid finish at the end. Michigan, probably going to be a lot of group racing there too. And you never know, could be some big wrecks with how tight we are against each other. But yeah, hopefully we can keep this momentum up and make it into the round of 4.
Well, Vinny, it is going to be a crazy next round, and we're going to hope the best for you. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Everybody in the league, you guys for broadcasting. You guys just do a fantastic job every week. I want to thank my sponsors, Marconi Setup Shop, and I want to thank all my brand new teammates on Category 5 Esports, Zach Hall, Larry Yingling, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Tom Sinchak, Brandon Colley, and Nick Crawford for welcoming me onto the team.
That's going to be Vincent Sora and the 15 getting the victory here at the Daytona Road Course for the K-9 125. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on moving to the round of 8. And good luck at the Super Speedways. Talladega next week there, Vinny.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
And Zach, what a race. What madness it was. Daytona Road Course. Sparks certainly flied, but the next round, the round of 8, we are expecting some big flare-ups as well when we head there.
Yeah, I think we might see more than sparks flying. I think we might see some sheet metal bent up, some broken trucks, and a lot of smoking engines there at Talladega and Michigan. Michigan is known to pack up 2 of these trucks and be kind of a wild card race also. So we got 2 weeks ahead of us that we really don't know how it's going to play out. We got a good mindset of what the whole season's been like, who's been the guys to beat, who have been here and there. But I tell you what, there's 2 guys that could go out and win each of those races that we don't even expect to be favorites in this whole thing. I mean, we got 8 great drivers. Any one of those 8 could go out there, going to win and shake this whole playoff up.
Yeah, we're going to go with unofficially here. If you want the official report on who the 8 drivers are going to be moving on, as we have not gotten that report just yet. But the unofficial report from my notes that I'm seeing, we know Mark Whitley is in, Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, Brandon Colley, Ethan Smith, John Forbes. Those 6 drivers were very securely in based on the misfortunes of others. Then, because Max Foner didn't have a great run, Gregor Shaw or Tyler Dangler finished well, there just was not enough points to be grabbed, meaning that from my point of view, and unofficially again, Sean Huttstutler and James Levelin would be the final 2 spots to be grabbed. Those would be the 8 drivers moving on, racing for a championship here for the NAISCC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series, the inaugural season. What a season it's been so far. Final thoughts from everyone that's here. We're going to start things off with Brian Johnson. Brian, what were some of your thoughts watching the race and being in pit road, getting the thoughts from the drivers?
I mean, the Daytona Roval, I feel like I say this about every track, but it never fails to disappoint, or not disappoint, rather. It's a great track, really a driver's track, very, especially in these trucks, very difficult, and these drivers were definitely preoccupied with their trucks and trying to keep them on the track all night to night. And, just going into next week at Talladega, these drivers are kind of going to be put in a box. It's kind of the opposite. Next week, they're going to be at the mercy of their peers and just hope that they can get a good finish out of whatever situation they're put in.
Zach, what are some of your final thoughts coming in after tonight and going into the round of 8?
Oh, man. This final 8, I mean, you couldn't ask for a more stacked final 8. I mean, you got our top 4, Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora, Danny Cochran, and Brandon Colley. They've been, I would say, a solid top 4 for most of the season. But, man, you throw in the addition of Ethan Smith, John Forbes, James Loveland, and Sean Huffstetler. And we've got Sean Huffstetler. He made the Final 4 in the Cup Series. We already know how consistent he can be, first of all, and how good he qualifies at plate races, how well he does at those. I wouldn't count him out for being able to steal one of those wins there. James Loveland, we've seen him win multiple victories here on Freaky Pass where, just coming out of nowhere. John Forbes has shown speed all season. Ethan Smith's got a few wins in his back pocket. I mean, we got so many chances for all 8 of these guys to be in that Final 4. it's going to be wild to see coming down to the end. But man, with tonight, the way it played out, Mark Whitley, Vince Soar battling all the way down to the end. I don't know if that's such, like a crystal ball looking into the future, but I think it's going to be a heavyweight battle between those two coming down to it. But man, we got to see if someone else can break their way into that picture, because it's going to be a special 2 weeks to decide who can get into that Final Four and then have that shot at Atlanta, one of the toughest tracks on the circuit, to prove they're a champion of this season.
Well, looking at the stats, it's incredible to see, but our 8 most consistent drivers in top 5s and top 10s are the 8 drivers that unofficially, again, from my point of view, that are going to be moving on to the championship race. As we take a look here at our unofficial ending results, Vincent Sora, Brandon Colley, Mark Whitley, Danny Cochran, Trevor Earhart, Cody Reed, John Forbes, Ethan Smith, Mark Morales Jr., and Sean Hutztutler are going to be your top 10 here tonight, with Loveland in 11th. And the rest of the field, real disappointment for Max Foner, one of our first DNFs, and really was hoping for a better run for himself. But we voted on drivers on the unknown. Talladega, Michigan. We could see someone that has not won this season finally crack the win column, and John Forbes looks to be that driver that I'm circling for myself. There are 6 drivers that have had over 7 or more top 5s. The next closest is with 2, with James Loveland. John Forbes is the only driver with 7 or more top 5s that has not gotten a win. We'll see if he can break and get into that pattern. But for us here tonight, thank you for joining us at the Daytona Road Course for the chaotic K-9 125. It was chaotic from the start of the race to the end, and the NAISCC Race Car Graveyard Truck Series does it again with a fabulous race. But to finish out our call, we got to throw it over to our producer, Robert Moyer, who's got the final call for us.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Wow. This place doesn't let nothing down, does it? Daytona, on the oval side of things, you see great finishing, side-by-side drafting, and then you come and guys on a road course, and it does the same thing. Congratulations, though, to Vincent, getting that win. Brandon, getting second there. Mark Whitley, unfortunately, what we've seen happen there. He's still going to get a top 3. But like you guys were noting there at the end of the broadcast here, with all the standings and the top 8, I think Zach nailed it on the nose with Hutztutler. That guy knows how to qualify at a super speedway, and going to Talladega and then Michigan, man, I don't know what to say, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing I can really say is tune in and find out how that all plays out, because we're going to see something next week, and this could flip the whole thing around, and Mark and Vincent might not make it to the next round. I mean, we really don't know what's going to happen here. So make sure you tune in next Monday night at 8:45 when we go live from Talladega, the fastest track on NASCAR side of things, and see what kind of action pack we got going on there. But hopefully everybody had a great holiday. We do much appreciate you tuning in here. If you don't mind, hit that share button and share it to your favorite social media platform of your choosing. It helps us out. It helps the leagues out. And we do much appreciate that. And also hit that like button. It helps the algorithms on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. It really does. But our next televised broadcast will be with the Underdog Racing League, when we have Zach Hall and Carl up in the booth when we go live at 8:30. So hopefully everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday night. And before I sign off, like Zach said, and they talked about it, and Sam talked about it, we got Friday night, January 7th, one of the biggest events in Freaky Fast history, first annual juvenile diabetes event, 6 hours. Make sure you tune in, or make sure you go to the descriptions on Facebook, on YouTube, and join the Discords and go through the steps, and get your team out there. So me, Sam, and all everybody that we have coming up in the booth can give you a shout out and maybe pull you in the booth and talk to you a little bit. But until then, hopefully everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday night. We'll talk to you then. God bless everybody. Love yous all. Out.